What's going on, Slay Baes? It's Ashley and welcome back to my channel. So I know I look a little strange. My hair is like up in a pony. I have very bold ass brows and my base is done, but that's simply because today's video is going to be a first impressions review demo video on the brand new Morphe Bronze Goals Artistry collection. So I do have the palette right here. Super excited to try and test this out. I also have a bunch of other little goodies right here in my Morphe bag. I have the liquid lustre drops. I also have a bronzer and the gloss set. I did pick this up in stores, which is why I was able to sit down and film this with you guys so soon. So hi. If you guys are ready for this video and excited, don't forget to subscribe per usual and click that bell so that you guys are notified anytime I upload, which is every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2 times a week, every single week. And without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and get right into the video. So for starters, let's completely ignore the fact that I look like one big ass oil slick, like my base makeup. It's not set or anything like that. I'm just wearing foundation. For those of you guys interested, I am wearing the Jouer Essential High Coverage Cream Foundation in the shade Fawn. Literally been my holy grail, like high-end foundation right now. It's extremely full coverage, but it's not like overly matte to the point where you feel like your face is like super dry. Like it feels really nice on the skin and it looks good as well. But besides that, we're gonna work on the eyes. I'm gonna start off using the 35G eyeshadow palette, but first I'm gonna prime my eyelids with a dry base primer. I'm gonna use this one by Morphe. This is just the Morphe eyelid primer. I noticed that whenever I use like Morphe eyeshadows, that whenever I use concealer, they start to get patchy, but when I use a dry based eye primer like this, they don't get patchy at all. So I'm gonna see if that's the case today with this particular eyeshadow palette. With a fluffy brush, I'm just gonna kind of brush on the primer directly underneath my brow bone and all over my eyelid. And then with my sponge, I'm just gonna kind of pat it down and in place, just so that way it's nice and even. Now that my lids are nice and primed, it's time to go in with shadow. But before I do that, I really wanted to talk about the overall composition of the palette, like the packaging. As you can see, the packaging is completely different than your standard kind of like Morphe package. It's still the same size. You still get the same amount of product in the pan size, but the overall design is a lot different. As you can see, it goes from this really pretty gold all the way to this very bright kind of like neon orange. It also says 35G Bronze Goals on the front in gold writing, and it also has this really beautiful kind of like geometric design. When you open it up, it does say Morphe Babe at the top. You also get the clear slip with all of the shade names. You guys already know how I feel about that. Not the biggest fan, but we're not even going to get into it today. Now, looking at all of the shades together, the color story is absolutely beautiful. You will notice that there are a mixture between shimmers and mattes, but there are a lot more shimmers than there are matte, so that's kind of just like eh. The palette as a whole retails for $25. You get 35 shades, which is about paying like $1.40 per eyeshadow. All in all, I love the color range. I feel like there's a clear difference between like warm tones and also neutrals. So if you guys really love those colors, I feel like you guys are really gonna love the color range within this particular palette. With that being said, I'm just gonna go ahead and start off, and I'm gonna use this very light brown shade within the palette called Sandy. Hi there. And I'm gonna rock it back and forth in my crease to act as my transitional shade. Wow. I will definitely say that these shadows are blending very nicely directly over top of that eyelid primer. As you can see, it really built up nicely in the crease. It's not patchy or anything like that. And oh, I'm all about it. So the next shade I'm gonna pick up is slightly deeper than Sandy, but not by too much. It's called Deserted. And I'm gonna take that on a clean M441, and I'm gonna warm up the crease a little bit more, rocking it from outer to inner corner. And I'm just gonna go in small circular motions, trying to keep it in the crease really, and not really above the shade called Sandy. I'm also gonna just tap it right here in the outer V and just flick it inwards a little bit. So far, I will say that these mattes are blending out very, very nicely. I always feel like you can tell like a good eyeshadow palette from a bad eyeshadow palette based on the mattes alone, because if they get patchy, they don't really blend out, then you can always tell if it's gonna be good or bad. So far, I will definitely say these mattes are buttery, creamy, and blendable, and I am not disappointed at all. So moving on, I'm gonna go in with an even deeper shade. This one is called Nekked. Now, what I'm gonna do with this shade is I'm gonna pick up a little bit of it on an M507, and I'm gonna start lightly packing it right here alongside the base of my lash line and also in the outer V area. Again, I'm simply packing the color in this area for now, and once I have the majority of the color placed exactly where I want it, then I'm gonna go in with an M441 and start buffing and diffusing it out. I'm gonna take an even fluffier M441 and I'm just gonna go over my entire lid as a whole, and I'm also gonna pick up a little bit of Sandy and blend it in with the shade called Nekked to really just melt everything together. But like, so far, do you guys see how stunning the shadow is blending onto my lid? Like, whew, all about it. So what I'm doing now is I'm picking up the shade called Toasted, and I'm doing the same thing with an M507. I'm placing it right here in the very outer V area, and then I'm gonna take my brush and flick it inwards when the majority of the product has left my brush. I'm also gonna take it into my crease a little bit more. I also wanna note that I'm getting very minimal fallout with these eyeshadows, which is really, really good. Like, really good. I'm gonna add some black to this look just to make it a little bit deeper and smoky. The shade is called Deepen from the palette, and I'm just placing it on my lid with a flat definer brush. This one is by ABH. This is an ABH A1 in case any of you guys were curious, and I'm really just kind of like stamping it closest to the lash line to kind of mimic the illusion of like faux liner. We're not really gonna go in with a full cat eye wing. We want something super soft and subtle, which is why I am going in with shadow instead. And with my little M507, I'm just gonna kind of buff and diffuse it out. So what I'm gonna do real quick is I'm gonna do a little bit of cleanup. As you can see, we had like a situation happen here. So I'm gonna do concealer, all that jazz, and then we'll come back, we'll finish off the eyes, and we'll talk about some of the other products from the collection. What I want to do now is I actually want to bring some shadow on my lower lash line because I'm feeling like a little bit naked. Like anytime I have like heavy shadow on my lid and no shadow on my lower lash line, I'm just like, hold up, like something needs to be done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up the shade called Nekked on a flat definer brush, and I'm just going to kind of stamp it right here on my lower lash line to really connect it with the shadow on my upper lid. Then with an M507, I'm just gonna lightly buff and diffuse out the shadow so that way it's nice, sultry, and smoky. Going back into the shade called Deepen, I'm simply going to push this right here towards the very outer V of my lower lash line to kind of just like pinch my eye a little bit. I know it's just like kind of like a neutral kind of like bronzy tone palette, you guys, but I'm honestly living and I'm so obsessed with the way that everything is turning out and blending out and all of that jazz. I'm just gonna add in a little bit of my Rimmel liner, which is a nude liner, to really just make this area stand out and pop. I feel like nude liner literally makes everything look better. So for my inner corner highlight today, I want to go in with a gold from the palette. So I'm going to mix two shades. I'm going to pick up the shade called Soul and also So Golden on a pencil brush, and I'm just going to stick it right here in the very inner corner. Now keep in mind the shadow is going on completely dry and it is literally going on like a foiled dream. So final verdict on this palette, I will definitely say I really like it. As you guys can see, I was able to get a very nice blown out bronzy smoky eye, which I am all about. Like I live for an eye look just like this. I feel like this is like my go-to smoky eye, if you will. I'm not about judging a palette based on swatches alone. I'm all about how they perform on the eyes, how they blend, are they pigmented, so on and so forth. Now, before I started, I did prime my lids with a dry base primer. I definitely recommend using a dry base primer with Morphe eyeshadows, because if there's one thing I've noticed based on every single collection that's dropped and every single palette I've tried, is that when I use a sticky concealer like Tarte Shape Tape or my NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer, they tend to really pull on that concealer whether or not I set it down with a loose translucent powder beforehand or not. When I use a dry base primer, it does not skip, it does not get patchy or anything like that, and that's why I was able to get such a beautiful blend on this shadow. So keep that in mind. I'm now going to move on to the little mini lustre drops they came out with. This does come in a set. It retails for $25 and it offers 4 different shades. So in hindsight, it's like paying $6.25 each for 0.27 fluid ounces. Now, this is honestly the perfect amount of like liquid highlighter drops you need. I honestly don't even see anyone going through a little bottle like this. Now, I want to go over the shades very quickly and swatch them just so that way you guys can see them in video. So the first shade I have is called Flash, and Flash is a golden bronze. I have Flare, which is a really beautiful rose gold. Optic, which is a champagne with flecks of shimmer. And then lastly, I have Strobe, which is a soft pink with shimmer. For me personally, I think Optic is going to look really beautiful with my skin tone. So it comes in like a little mini dropper form like this. And I'm just going to apply it to my face right from the dropper. And I'm just going to kind of I'm going to take my damp sponge and I'm just going to kind of pat it. Keep in mind, I did not set this area of my face just because I didn't want to create a weird situation. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about this. It's kind of like picking up my foundation in a super weird way. Okay, so that didn't really work well. The only place I put powder was directly underneath my eyes, but I think I brought that liquid highlighter up a little too far. I kind of have like a line of demarcation here, but we're just gonna pretend it's not there. Can we pretend? Let's pretend. Instead of putting this on my face, I'm actually going to put it on my body because why not? We want to glow. So I'm going to take some here, in here. Ooh, that was a lot. You know what these remind me of? It reminds me of the iconic London kind of like glow droppers that we see all over Instagram. That's what this reminds me of. Just going to kind of, you know, do a little zhuzh here. Glow, glow, glow. Ooh, she glowing. So the mini luster drops were a complete bust for me, kind of like, they're really, really pretty swatch. I personally don't see myself really reaching for something like this, but again, you get a total of 4 for $25, not too shabby of a deal. What I'm most excited for after like the eyeshadow palette is definitely the bronzers. They released 3 different bronzers. I have mine in the shade Icon, and this retails for $19, which I think is an amazing deal for how much product you're getting. Like, look how big this pan size is. It's huge. Like, you get 0.7 ounces of product, which I think is a really awesome deal. I did really want the shade called Megastar, but it was completely sold out. So I figured, you know what, Icon will do. If you guys are of my skin tone, just know that the shade Icon is ideal for fair complexions. As you can see, I'm not too fair, but I'm also like not medium. So I felt like I just fell right in the middle and I just opted for this one instead. So I'm gonna take a little bit of this to bronze up my skin. And honestly, it looks a lot lighter in the pan than it goes on. Like, it is a really, really beautiful bronzer. We'll just pretend that I don't have like a line on my face from the liquid highlighter drops because I really don't want to have to go back and take my foundation off. Yes, I actually thought that this was going to be way too light for me. It is definitely not. I'm glad Megastar was sold out because that would have been hella dark and hella orange for me. I'm also going to take a little bit alongside my nose to kind of just chisel it out. You guys know I'm a sucker for a good nose contour. You know what I really love about this shade called Icon is that it's not too cool, but it's also not too warm either. It's literally the perfect shade to kind of just like chisel out your nose area to create natural looking shadows. Okay, Morphe, we see you, Morphe. I am going to pop on some blush real quick. I'm going to use this blush palette, which is the Sweet Cheeks blush palette. You guys saw me use this in my last video last week, so I'm just going to pop a little bit of that on for some added color. And for highlight today, I'm going to use this by Persona Cosmetics. This is the Cali Glow Highlighter in the shade Zuma. Last but not least, we have the Hot Tropic Lip Gloss Collection. Now, this does come as a set. It retails for $32 for a total of 5 glosses, which again, isn't too bad of a deal considering you get 5 lip glosses. It's kind of like paying $6.40 each per lip gloss, but again, you do have to kind of buy them as a set, which is kind of just like, because I feel like some people would choose one gloss over the other. I know me personally, I probably wouldn't wear like the pinks within this collection, but I'm still really excited to kind of play around with them and get a feel for the formula and things like that. I do want to throw swatches up so that way you guys can kind of see how the pigmentation is with each gloss. So first and foremost, we have Sauced, which is a really pretty bronze with shimmer. I have Beach Goals, which is a champagne with shimmer. Kiss Kiss, which is a rosy pink. Sunny's is a copper with shimmer. And Punch is a really bright coral. So based on the swatches alone, you can definitely see that these glosses go on very, very sheer. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in with a lip liner. This is by NYX. This is the NYX Suede Matte Lip Liner in the shade London. And I'm just gonna outline my lips. And I'm definitely feeling like this look is calling for more of like a bronzy gloss. So I'm gonna go in with the shade called Sauce, which is a really pretty bronze with shimmer directly over top. All right, so I will definitely say that going on, you can't really feel the shimmer at all. It's not gritty or anything like that. This gloss is extremely hydrating on the lips and also doesn't feel sticky. Like it feels really, really good. I originally thought the bronze was gonna be a little bit too intimidating on my skin tone personally, but as you can see, it melted into that lip liner and it looks beautiful, like so stunning. Love, 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 love. And just like that, Slay Baes, this is the final and completed look. What do you guys think of it? Let me know down below in the comments. I will definitely say I loved a lot of the products I tried within this video, which is a huge shocker. The only thing I would truly pass on are like the little mini kind of like liquid highlighters, the lustre drops. Not a huge fan, but again, like I said in the video, I'm not very experienced with using these and they never seem to work for me personally. I don't feel like they're very beginner friendly, and that's just me. And that's my opinion, but definitely let me know if you guys like them down below in the comments. I love the palette and I would definitely be filming more looks and more videos using that palette just because you guys know me, I'm a neutrals kind of girl. I love very bronzy kind of like smoky looks and I feel like you can really get that with that particular palette. The bronzer, I thought it was gonna be way too light for my skin tone just because it is marketed as a bronzer for fair skin. I personally, I don't have fair skin, but it worked really, really well on me personally and I love it. So that is pretty much all I have to say. Oh, glosses. Glosses were pretty good, not sticky, very, very hydrating. Again, $32 is pretty steep, but you get 5 glosses. I do like the bronzy shades and also the champagne. Not a huge fan of the very bright kind of pink shades, but that's just me. I don't think I have anything else to say except if you guys still are not subscribed, make sure you guys subscribe by pressing the subscribe button. Click that bell so that you guys are notified anytime I upload, which is every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2 times a week, every single week. And Stormy says hello. We love you and we'll talk to you guys very, very soon. Deuces.